Hello, today I'm going to be doing Hyperdrive, a box set of Series 1 and 2. It's a bit of a controversial choice this time because, well, it was obviously inevitably going to be compared to Red Dwarf, and it's not come off too good in people's mind. But I'm gonna be fighting for the side of Hyperdrive. Although I'd like to say at the start, obviously I'm a great fan of Red Dwarf as well, and I'm not really comparing them because I think they're two very different shows with lots of very different ideas in Hyperdrive. Okay, it's set in the fairly distant future when Britain is basically suffering the similar situation in space as it's suffering in the political world at the moment. Is that we used to be great and we're not that great anymore.
Got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet, so I turned myself to face me. And
you know, we're still trying to act as if we're more powerful and more interesting than we were before. America is overshadowing us in most ways, and we follow a crew on the HMS Camden Lock, which is a spaceship, and they go around, they're doing various things, mostly trying to sell real estate to alien races to come and, you know, put their manufacturing projects on Britain to make us some money. Now, I think this premise is actually fairly good. It's quite satirical. I'm not sure if many people have picked up on that. I mean, it's quite blatantly satirical, but never underestimate the stupidity of the masses, I've been told. So, you know, it says it has a lot to say about you know, the current affairs in politics and how, you know, we're making a fool of ourselves really if we're trying to big ourselves up and make ourselves look more important than we are. And this is echoed not just in the situation that you have with you know, where Britain is in the space age, but also with the crew itself. The captain is also doing a similar thing amongst his crew. He's always trying to big himself up. He thinks he's more important than he really is, and you know, it makes him look like a fool in that respect. So the captain is played by Nick Frost, obviously well known for his endeavours in space and the film Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. And I think he plays it very well. I think he does the job very well. He's been picked brilliantly due to his physique and general appearance. Doesn't make him look that commanding. But yeah, again, he's got a sort of tone on him where he can, you know, put a bit more of a fine tone. So you can still believe that he could have got to the position that he was in. And the general jokes that run through it are fairly funny. It didn't do, this is what I set it apart from, whereas the general concept is quite satirical, but it's not like Red Dwarf, where Red Dwarf had a lot of satirical comments about contemporary people. You know, they'd always be remembering or misremembering contemporary people, and Hyperdrive doesn't do that. The only real person I remember them mentioning is Gary Neville, who apparently invented hyperspace travel, or whatever they call it, which is quite a funny joke, and they have a Gary Neville Day and things. But that's the only instance of that, and in my mind I think that's going to make Hyperdrive a bit more timeless. Going back and watching all of the Red Dwarf, as funny as they still are and as classic, I think in 10 years time people aren't going to understand them as much, because there's a lot of 90s jokes in there. A lot of jokes about, you know, the 90s, whereas Hyperdrive is more of a joke about, you know, the failing of glory and that going tits up and making yourself look foolish later. So yeah, I mean, that's it really. I mean, I'm quite a big fan of Hyperdrive. It's not a comedy that has a laughter track over it. You know, you have to know when to laugh. It lets you laugh when you want to laugh. The sets are done quite well, except for their big kind of ring donut set is kind of a bit obvious. I don't know if people notice these sorts of things or it's just me, but whenever they're walking down in corridors, they are just walking in one big circle, and you know, they don't think they can fool us with that one. But no, generally the sets, costumes and everything they've paid quite a lot of attention to it. The direction is actually very good. They've I forget who the director is, but he's quite a well-known guy, and he's directed it like a proper show rather than a cheap comedy, which is good. Which adds a bit of class to it. They've also made some gags, like with the sets and stuff. The guns are quite clearly crutches that they're painted and stuck bits on, and it's clearly been obvious that they want us to spot that. So there are gags with the props as well, even though they're trying to make it look a bit more polished than Red Dwarf ever was, and those sorts of comedies which were done on the cheap, or cheapish, until Red Dwarf got really big and they ruined it by throwing cash at it. They've still, Hyperdrive has still tried to keep its roots amongst the cult fans, but they seem to have missed it. And you see, I like it, but I'm a little worried about recommending this to people because of such a backlash that it seemed to get on the internet forums and stuff, for people comparing it to Red Dwarf and saying it's not as funny. But what I think they're thinking is they just wanted another Red Dwarf, and they're upset that it's not the same, that the premise is fundamentally different and the jokes are coming from a different angle. I mean, there's even some nudity in it, if that'll give you. There's a naked bottom in one episode, so there you go, female bottom. It's quite a nice one as well. So that might sell a few tickets. But other than that, I'd hardly recommend it, but say, I would normally recommend it to Red Dwarf fans. Say this is up your alley, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's for different people. I mean, it's definitely a British show. I'm not sure if Americans would like it as much, but maybe that I'm underestimating you guys there. Damn, I keep forgetting I'm meant to be doing these rating things at the end of it. Okay, I'm going to give Hyperdrive 4 stars and hide when the inevitable backlash of people telling me it's not as good as Red Dwarf comes. So yeah, cheers.